Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here and welcome back to the podcast. I keep on saying this when I have guests. I'm like, man, we're in for a treat. And I truly believe that. Fortunately for you guys, you don't have to just listen to me today. You get to listen to me and one of my former clients, and she is also a life coach. This is Stacy. Stacy, tell us a little bit about yourself and why we work together.
So we started working together. I have 16-year-old twins. They're about to be juniors in high school. And I noticed I was having some challenges connecting with my teen son. My daughter, not so much. And definitely, I think the gender plays a role. We both, my daughter and I, we have a lot of the same interests. And with my son, I don't play football. I don't play basketball. He's got a mind for numbers when it comes to sports and memorizing stats. And all of those are things that I'm interested in, but they're not my like true passions. And so I was just finding that I was really struggling with connecting with him. And I would go into my own tool belt as a life coach and try to, coach myself through. And I would ask friends, okay, you have teen boys, like what are your suggestions? And I kind of exhausted all of my resources. And I said to my husband one day, I was like, I need to talk to Ben. And he's like, great, let's do this. So I came to you with with an open heart and really needing support and guidance about how to strengthen our bond, how to more than maintain it, but like keep it going because my kids are 16. So we've got a couple years left, right, until they're off in the world in doing their own thing, at least, in a what I call it's like teen light or light adulthood, right? They're not
Yeah.
fully. So they'll be popping back in, but like I know this is a moment that I really wanted to harness and make good use of. So I turn to you.
I love that. And I feel like one of the mistakes that we make as parents, or one of the traps that we fall into, is just thinking that the present moment will just, it'll stay the same and it'll always be here. So my oldest got married over the summer and I, things just change. And it seems like they stay the same for a while and then they change. And I'm like, oh my goodness, how did I ignore the fact that he was going to want to move out and become his own man? And I feel like as parents, if you can consciously be aware, okay, here's the season that I'm in. How can I best use this season to get the most out of it to help set me up for future seasons? And I love that you came to me because I feel like, well, number one, I know your child. So
Yep.
I feel like he just deserves all the best in the world. And there's something special when a mom is willing to connect with her teen and make that a priority. It's amazing the things that start to change even in that teen's life. So I feel like he's lucky. I actually feel like you guys are both really lucky to have each other because you're both
Thank
so
you.
awesome.
Thank you. You helped him so much. And we still, I mean, this was, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 years ago now, even. And we still reference some of the conversations that you had with him. And I didn't tell him right away that I was working with you, but I told him like a few weeks in. He's like, oh, wow, that's cool. So and I know that carried some street cred because of your relationship with him. Yeah, it was super helpful. Super helpful. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a tough question. What do you like? Give us a before and after. Have you ever seen those weight loss pictures
Oh
online
yeah.
and they're like, oh, here's a before? Or I'm a sucker for infomercials. I love
Mhm.
how they like make it look so hard. They're like pushing over a wheelbarrow and it looks like it's the hardest thing on earth, but man, with this special wheelbarrow, and then you get the after and it's like it's easy, it's breezy. Give us an idea. Like, what did the relationship look like before, and what were you able to get the relationship to look like after?
I firmly believe that parenting our children is more about reparenting or parenting ourselves. And when we have an understanding of how we're showing up, it can't help but change the relationship. So here's an example. Sometimes we would have a conversation and I would want it to go one way, already thinking I had a plan. And if it didn't go that way, I was like incredibly frustrated, annoyed, and sometimes I'd be able to, contain my emotions, and sometimes I'd, you know, be not so great at that. And the whole situation would just go sideways. And one of the things that you taught me was to like slow situations down. So Xander and I would live our lives, and then I would come to you every week. And there was so much grist for the mill that happened in the week that we could unpack it slowly, you and I. And so I could have an understanding the next time that situation came up or the next time that conversation came up. This is probably what's going to happen. This is what Xander is thinking. This is what I'm thinking. And being able to slow that down in real time allowed me to respond versus react,
Yeah.
and that was incredibly helpful. The other thing that was so profound is you really were able to coach me and teach me to, you talk about top of the wheel moments and bottom of the wheel moments. And it's this concept, and correct me if I'm wrong, where sometimes you're going to have conversations that go sideways or where you're not in agreement, but you have the conversation, you show up with love, because I always want to show up with love in a conversation with him. I want to maintain connection. That's really important. Those were other things you taught me. How do you always want to show up as a parent? And so if I had a conversation where I showed up as love, where I prioritized connection, and it kind of went south, well, that's okay because I at least showed up as the type of parent that I want to be. And by practicing, by getting the reps in, basically, having these conversations and having these moments, all of a sudden, with practice and consistency, those bottom of the wheel moments where something went south become a top of the wheel moment because we get better at holding our position of love and connection. And they can see, my son could see, oh, wow, this was an uncomfortable conversation, but mom was still loving and she was consistent and she didn't lose her marbles. And so we have to put in our time.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, as a parent, especially as they're teens, we're physically with them less, right? They're out at sports, they're at school longer, they're driving. So when they're home, there was a part of me that always wanted the time together to just be great. So I would sometimes swallow conversations, or I wouldn't say what I really wanted to say, or I wouldn't carry through because I wanted to keep the peace. But that wasn't helping anybody. It wasn't helping him grow into the man that I want him to be and that he needs to be. It wasn't helping me because I was resentful and like, you know, annoyed with myself. And I know better, right? I'm a coach. We have to do these things. And you made it okay. And the other thing you said was that it wasn't going to take that much time. A couple of these conversations, a couple of the bottom of the wheel moments, they very quickly become top of the wheel moments because of the consistency and the practice for both of us.
Yeah. I love that. I think one of the things that sets me apart from a lot of coaches is just how much I'm involved in sports and how big a part of my life that is. And when we have problems in football, for me personally, it's my job as a coach to understand, like, well, what do you understand of your job? Like, first of all, do you understand what you're supposed to do here, your role. And then the other one, like if you understand it and you still can't get it done, as your coach, I've got to give you the reps that you can get enough experience under your belt that you can now do that under higher pressure situations. And I think parenting is very similar. Like if you don't know your role, which is hard because the world would love to tell you who you should be as a parent, or maybe it's your mother-in-law or the neighbors or whatever, but you really have to take the time and define, no, this is my role. This is how I want to handle these things. And then the next part is how can I set myself up to practice this? And most parents make the mistake. They try and change everything at the bottom of the wheel. I'm like,
Mhm.
no, change how you do the easy top of the wheel moments, and that'll trickle down, and you'll start handling the bottom of the wheel moments better. And before you know it, like it really doesn't take as long as most people think. I remember I had one mom I was working with, and she's like, well, we'll give this is like a last ditch effort. They're going to send their kid to wilderness therapy. It's like tens of thousands of dollars. And I'm like, might as well try this. And she was like, within a couple weeks, she's like, I can't believe how much everything has changed.
Mhm.
And as a mom, like, this is why I could coach dads. I do coach some dads, but
Mhm.
my favorite is to coach moms because you are the catalyst for change. And it's amazing when you change your life, your teen changes. Like I've heard so many parents be like, my teen changed, my spouse changed, my boss changed. Like, yeah, you people tend to reflect what they get from you. And if you can better intentionally be who you want to be, you're going to get the better, more intentional version of the people around you, especially a teenage son. So
Yeah.
I love that. One of the things I have in my notes, I remember talking to you about kind of grieving the experience that you kind of envisioned that you would have with your teenager in order to really connect with what really was your experience. Could you talk to us about that? And I'm cheating, by the way. I have my coaching notes right in front of me. So, but do you remember what I'm talking about? And could you
I
talk to
think
that?
I do remember as parents, we can't help but have ideas and visions of how we think certain life stages or certain experiences are going to go. And that's obviously amplified by social media and conversations with friends and expectations from other family members and, all of that. It all kind of trickles in. And it doesn't always go that way. I'd say 99% of the time, it doesn't go that way. And I think where a lot of people get tripped up, myself included, is we stay in this place too long where reality is not meeting the expectation. And we keep trying different things or trying harder. And it only gets us more frustrated and it only gets our teens more frustrated. And there's a real humility that you but at least that I had to come to that moment where I was like, I'm tapped out. I don't know what to do, and I don't want it to continue this way. And there is grief that comes up because you look at yourself and you think, gosh, where am I not good enough? Where am I ineffective? And these are, very natural. And you are good enough. We just need different skills, and that's totally okay. Yeah, does that answer that question? I was trying to think of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I think one of the important things that you hit on, you talked about when reality is not meeting your expectation.
yeah.
The thing that people miss is that it's so hard to change the external reality.
Mm.
And that's usually where we focus on like, how do I get my team to get better grades? How do I get him to not roll his eyes at me? How do I get him to spend more time? It's easier to change your reality by changing your perception of the reality. And if your reality is not meeting your expectations, reality is not the problem. It's the expectations that are the problem.
Yes.
And So I completely understand grief. Like I feel like when my oldest, who's now married, like his senior year in football, 3 games in, he had a season-ending injury. And I remember talking to my wife like it feels like someone died. Like we
Mhm.
are grieving. Like at the time he was in the top 10 in tackling stats in the state. Like he was on a really good upward track and just really understanding that okay, reality isn't the problem. It's either my expectations or my attachment to those expectations. And I think with a lot of teenagers, one of the hard parts, and you kind of mentioned this too, if you are overly attached to what you think or what you think your teen should be or what you think your relationship with your teen should look like, that is going to detach you from connecting with where your teen actually is. And one of the things for you, especially, I feel like when you understood that, you're like, oh, I have a teen right here in front of me. Might not look like how I want it to look, but if I can connect there, we can then see how things go. And I tell parents this all the time. You might think your teen wants nothing to do with you, but the truth is, they want a connection with you. The hard part is they want you to make that connection. I feel like a lot of times as parents, we fall into this trap where we try and get our teen to change so that they can better connect with us. So I love that you brought that up. Talk to me real quick. So he's 16. He's got to have other friends that are 16. Like,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you see other parents like dealing with their 16-year-old? And is there anything where you look at your own? Like, I feel like this helps me sometimes. I see what other parents are dealing with, and I'm like, I'm really grateful for my son. Like, I'm grateful that he is doing this. Like, do you see any of those pitfalls that other parents are falling into? And
Obviously, I mean, how can we not, right? How can you not? It's the most human thing ever to judge and compare. And as long as you're aware of, wow, I see what this family is dealing with, and my gosh, I have so much compassion, and I'm gonna say a little prayer for them, and it does make me grateful for my son and for the
yes,
relationship we have. Of course, it we're not bad people, right? When we have that, when we look onto our neighbors, over our neighbor's fence kind of thing, proverbially. It's just how it is. I think it's comforting because we all, today I can have that feeling, but tomorrow, who the heck knows? They're teens. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Someday tomorrow my neighbor could be
could be
like,
your team.
goodness. Yeah, exactly. Wow, my heart goes out to you. Me too. So, I mean, we have to laugh through this process because we are all in it together and we're all doing the best we
Yeah.
can. We really are.
Yeah, the reason I asked that question, I feel like a lot of time, like you've heard the old saying, like if we all got together, put all of our problems on the same table and we could pick, we'd probably all walk away with our same problems because
Yeah.
we don't understand other people's and we're comfortable with our own. But the reason I bring that up, a lot of parents, I feel like they never take the time to truly appreciate what they have with their child. And I feel like parenting is hard. It always has been hard. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to challenge you as a parent and help you grow. But I think today with social media and just how vocal people have gotten, which they wouldn't be in the past, sometimes it's easier to see where parents are falling into a trap and easier for you to then be able to experience a higher sense of gratitude of, oh man, I'm glad me and my son have this, or
Yeah.
I'm glad he's not perfect, but I'm glad we share these values so he's not out like robbing the gas station or like
Right.
it just helps you better appreciate the individuality of your teen and appreciate what you do have.
What I hear from that is taking a moment to be grateful. So last night was my husband's birthday, and we had a beach nick. We call it a beach picnic. And as we're sitting at the table, my daughter said, "Hey, let's go around the table and say our favorite memory with daddy from this past year and the thing we love, one of the things we love most about him." And first of all, I love that she prompted that. But what I'm taking from the question or the comment that you just asked is that intentional moment to reflect. And you could do it in a journal, you could do it at dinner around the table, you could do it whenever you wanted to, even when you're in bed at night. Wow, I'm really grateful that my son is is a leader on the field and off of the field, right?
Yeah.
You're intentionally focusing on the beauty that you see in your child, and it makes such a difference because yes, things could always be different, and we're probably going to always wish that A would happen or B would happen, but that's not where our power is. Our power and our connection is with appreciating how he's showing up today and who he is today.
Yeah, really
Yeah.
good. I want to
Hmm.
just take this one level deeper so we can
Hmm.
just completely blow the lid off this thing. So I love birthdays
Hmm.
and I love funerals.
Hmm.
I love birthdays in the sense that we're celebrating a person, we're getting to focus on them, we're going out of our way to be like nice, to give
Hmm.
them stuff. And I love funerals. I have always loved funerals, but within this past month, one of my old high school buddies that I haven't seen since high school, actually two brothers, their dad passed away.
Hmm.
And I told my wife, I'm like, I think we should go to the funeral. I don't know the dad, but these two young men help keep me on the path. Like they helped me be who I am today, which is funny because they're like, oh, you married a good guy. Like he helped keep us on the path. I'm like, no, you guys we probably helped each other. But the beauty of funerals, everyone has something nice to say about the deceased. And you're just there talking about the best parts. And guess what? They weren't perfect. And yet you were choosing not necessarily to ignore the imperfections, but to move your attention elsewhere. Somewhere like funerals aren't for the dead person. They're gone. They don't need it. They're for everybody else there. And we shift our attention to the things that help us feel the best about that person because that's the best way that we found to grieve. And I feel like there's a powerful lesson in that when it comes to parenting teens because you have a choice. Like you said just a second ago, like your teen probably still isn't going to be perfect. They're going to do things that you disagree with, but you have the same power that we exercise at funerals and birthday parties that you get to manage what am I going to focus on? And sure, we don't agree with this, and I wish you'd get better grades or whatever it is, but I'm going to put my attention to this thing that I truly love about you. And that will help you better connect to your teen than 99% of the things that parents are trying nowadays. Like, oh, I got to get my kid to get better grades. I got to get him into therapy. I got to get him to talk more. Like, no, you just work on your relationship with your teen, and I promise you, like, have that mentality. The funeral and the birthday. Like, how do I want to see the best in this person?
I'm with you. I love funerals too. I mean, it's probably I do a lot of grief coaching, and I do think funerals bring out the best in people, and it's the simplest thing that you can say to someone, say to your teen, that makes all the difference because they just want to be acknowledged for who they are. We all just want to be acknowledged for who we are. And how do I know? I mean, if somebody says, "Thank you, mommy, for making me breakfast," Ben, that makes my whole day. I'm like, wow, one of my kids just thanked me for making their breakfast. I know how I feel inside when something like that happens. So when I can do that for my child, it it brightens up their whole affect, and that is a ripple effect. They're going to show up, you know, probably a step lighter for their practice or walk into their classroom or whatever it is. And yeah, focusing on the positive, that's what
Yeah.
grows. Yeah, such an opportunity.
And I feel like a lot of teens get into trouble because it's hard as a teen. You don't know who you are. And man, if you can start getting people in your life, especially a mom or a dad, to really see you for who you are and be willing to connect with you, imperfections and all. And yeah, and the thank you for making breakfast like that. You
Yeah.
see the impact on your life. Like, imagine how much greater, like, you've already been told thank you a million times, and yet it still has a big impact. Hit your teens, like, be the change you want to see.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed something, if you wish your teen would do something, find a way to be that towards them. You'll be surprised at how quickly they reflect that to you.
Yeah, totally. Because they feel that. They feel that, oh, wow, mom is interested. So, one of the things I mentioned, my son has a brain for sports. One of the things that you encouraged was to, do something together. And in the beginning, I was like, well, really, I'm not going to go to football practice with him. I'll play horse or pig in the with the basketball, but like, he's not going to, doesn't really want to do that. And I try to find things that I was imperfect at, but where we at least there was some shared interest because he's getting the signal that I know mommy's strength is not playing basketball in the driveway, but wow, she's out here trying. And they see that, they get that. It makes
Yeah.
such an impact. And honestly, sure, I'm not great at it. That's not the point. The point is that I'm meeting him where he is, right? We have this saying, I was a social worker, you meet the client where the client is. I'm going to meet my son where he is, and I'm just going to show up with love in my heart and aiming to connect, and it will work. It's not going to be perfect, but he's going to get the message.
Yeah. And for you to meet your son where he has or where he is, you really have to show up where you are.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people think, oh, I got to be perfect or I got to be better prepared. And it's like, no, your son isn't perfect. Congratulations. Neither are you. That is pretty good common ground to meet someone on. And so just
Yeah.
meet them where they are as you are.
Totally, totally. And a
Yeah.
lot of times I mean, I've mentioned this, he's really big into sports. I scan the sports highlight, the headlines overnight, and I always have something to talk about with him at breakfast, and it gets him talking. Great.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I don't even care about like the NBA that much or
Hmm.
just some of the other sports. I really focus on football and not much of the other stuff, but like I'll pay attention enough that I can talk to my second oldest who plays basketball and be like, "Oh, did you see that last night?" Like
Yeah, totally.
you're just
Yes.
we talked about values when we worked together, but it's
Hmm.
understanding your team's values and then being able to connect. Like one of my favorite teachings is how do you have values-based connection, and then how do you start reinforcing some of the things that you want to teach your teen, but with their values rather than your own values. But
Yes.
like sounds like that's exactly what you're doing. I know this is important to you. Let me help reinforce things in your life with the things that are important to you.
Hmm.
As we wrap this up, is there anything? This is one of my favorite questions to ask people when I interview them because I'm not the best interviewer. So I just like to ask, is there anything that you wish I would have asked you or anything that you wish you could have shared, but I didn't lead you the right way?
The one thing that's coming to mind is we touched about it. We touched on this, like being humble to say, I don't have all of the answers, and maybe I need a little support in this area. There is nothing, I mean, we get support in so many areas. I've never been a parent to teens before. I've definitely never been a parent to, boy, girl, 16-year-olds who are doing their things. I need help. And that is okay. It is okay. If we tell our kids it's okay to ask for help, sometimes we have to go first, right?
Yeah,
Even around, and I know parenting can be a very sensitive subject for a lot of people. There's a lot of inputs and parents and in-laws and all of that. Sometimes we just have to get out of our own way and reach out to an expert who knows what they're talking about.
yeah,
Be life-changing. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I agree. And if you are wondering, like, should I do this? that's probably a pretty good indicator that like your subconscious is pushing you in that direction. And I'll one of the things that I love telling parents, like the change you're looking for is probably closer than you realize.
Yeah.
And when you can have, it's like, so I coach our freshman team, our varsity coach, and he knows his X's and O's better than I do, which is kind of humbling because I coached him back when he was a freshman. But whatever, the student has already
Sure.
passed. But like, I was trying to fix our offense, and he was able to look at one thing and be like, "Oh, here's your problem." And I was like, "How did I miss that? Like, what the crap?" Sometimes the change you're looking for is way closer and it'll happen much faster when you finally have someone that can help bring that to your awareness to where you can now act on it. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes. And then the other thing I guess I would say is as long when the conversation that we had about values-based parenting and how do I want to show up in every conversation, I make sure I'm showing up with my values, with love, with connection. And when I know I'm doing that, it doesn't matter if things go south. It doesn't matter if it's the best conversation ever. I can say without any doubt, I showed up the way that I wanted to show up. And
yeah,
sometimes things are going to go south, and that is okay.
yeah,
It is just okay.
yeah. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because working with me and the work that I do is not to like put your parenting on like easy street. Like it is not meant to just make life be this complete easy cakewalk. No, it is meant to help you show up as a parent of a real life teen where some days are going to be fantastic and you're going to be like, what is wrong? Like, who are you and what have you done with my teenager? But those are going to be followed by the days when you're like, oh my goodness, why is everything bad? Like, that's just how life is. But the truth is, when you learn these skills, you become larger than any obstacle that you could face. And I feel like right now, most parents, in the way that they view themselves and the obstacles in their life, the obstacles are so huge and so insurmountable that they don't know what to do. And if we can flip that, you can start to realize, oh, I am bigger than any problem that I have. I am more than capable of taking this on.
Mhm.
And it just puts life into perspective and it helps you better appreciate the times that are fantastic. And it helps you even get into a place of appreciation, even when times aren't great.
Totally. Yes. It
I
takes a
love,
village to raise, to raise kids in this day and age. I mean, it always has. So,
yeah.
yes, I'm so thankful for you.
Well, you tell us a little bit about the coaching that you do and where people could come find you if they wanted your services. And guys, I would tell you, having been Stacy's coach, like she would show up on the call sometimes and just see things deeper than I see them. And I can vouch for you as a coach. So tell us a
Ah,
little bit about what you do and how we'd find you.
thank you. That means so much coming from you. Thank you. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. The core of what I do is grief work, but the people I work with currently are law enforcement officers and first responders, so fire, military, emergency services, very specifically as they are retiring or have retired. And it's there's three big things that come up. One, there's a huge identity shift that comes
Yeah.
up really with anyone who's retiring, but very specifically this group of people. They wear a uniform, they've been trained for decades to, you know carry a weapon or whatever it's a hose or military. There's a lot that needs to kind of get unpacked and separated as they retire. There also is a hypervigilance and nervous system like recalibration that needs to happen. Again, they've been trained for decades to be on it, to be constantly scanning. And now they don't need to do that so much
Yeah.
every day. And there is a titration, there's a process to go through. And then the last part is the grief. So the grief touches on the separation from the job. The grief touches on colleagues that they've lost or incidents or calls that went wrong. I mean, everybody has a call or two or three that they just, they hold with them in their heart. And yeah, that's the work I do. And the best place to find me is LinkedIn. My name, Stacy Vulak, STACEY VULAKH, or I'm on Substack.
Okay. And I'll put that on the show notes.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not on either of those platforms,
Hmm.
so I don't know how well I'd be able to link it. But if you'll email me a link to
Yeah,
those things, I'll make sure it gets put on there. And
sure.
I can see how important that would be. We had a sports psychologist come talk to our football team. Just today was her last day, and she talked about how important it is to not have your sport be your main component of your identity.
Hmm.
And she talked about the high depression rates and rising suicide rates in student athletes
Hmm.
because the problem with athletics, like it comes to an end for most people.
Yes.
And if your whole identity is wrapped up in the sport and for the work that you do, like your career, like I would imagine like law enforcement or being a firefighter or military,
Hmm.
like that gives you a bunch of purpose. It is a huge part of your identity. And then when that's gone, like
Yes.
you got
Yes.
to start reprogramming the mind to be like, well, without that, now who am I? So I love
Yes.
that you do that. That's awesome.
And to put it into terms where probably most of us can better relate, it's the classic empty nest, right? When our kids are gone, if our whole identity has been being a parent, when they're not there, there's a lot of grief that comes up because
Yeah.
now what do I do with my weekends? What do I do with my after school hours? What do I do? Yes, there's a sense of relief. Wow, I don't have to go on another weekend junket for a tournament, but like, what do I do in
Yeah.
perpetuity? So my my simplest advice is to understand that these phases will come to an end. They'll shift for sure because you'll always be needed as a parent. But where can you maybe plug into your friends a little bit more? Where can you have something that is a separate interest from your children? I don't care if it's a book club. I don't care if it's, I don't know, collecting sea glass at the beach, but like we hear this advice a lot, but having something that you love to do is so incredibly helpful, at least in the beginning or as you're approaching these empty nest years. And then, you can sort of work into it and expand from there. But
Yeah.
my my most basic yet helpful piece of advice.
I love that. That's
Mhm.
beautiful. Well, thank you so much for joining me. You are a fantastic client. My goal is to find more clients like you. So, everyone listening, if you are coachable and you're willing to make my job super easy, come find me.
Thank you. Like I said, you have been so helpful, and you just continue the ripple effect of our work together continues to have impacts in my family. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's truly a blessing. And those of you listening, if you guys are like, man, I can hear in Stacy's words how she's able to just really develop some new parenting skills and up level her game. You can do the same thing. And I would invite you, one of the easiest places to start, I have a free parent trap quiz. And this is a quiz where I have identified the three most common traps that parents get stuck in. That quiz will take you less than 90 seconds. It will help you see where you're coming from as a parent. And it also comes with, I think it's a 4 part mini podcast series where I'm going to teach you all about the parent traps and how to parent from the inside out. And honestly, if you're even thinking that you might want to work with me, go check that out because that's going to give you a lot of foundational knowledge that will help you hit the ground running when we do start working together. Plus, there's a lot of parents that are like, man, that changed everything. So go check it out. It's benpughcoaching.com/quiz. I'm going to have to go double check that, but I think it's quiz. And also, just a side note, I am going to be doing a group coaching cohort coming up soon, and we're going to be talking about boundaries and just making boundaries easy, where you can get your team to buy into the boundaries and you don't have to fight them. So the best way to learn more about that, go take the free Parent Trap quiz, 90 seconds or less, benpughcoaching.com/quiz. All right, Stacy, thank you for being here and let's stay in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Ben. My pleasure.